Welcome to Let's Fix Post, a show about making post-production smoother, smarter, and more collaborative for creative teams and editors alike. Hit subscribe now so that you don't miss future episodes. Today I'm talking with my good friend Matt Forcier, the owner of LMV Productions, which is a video production company based in the Boston area. With 16 years in the video industry, Matt started out as a PA on MTV's reality show Real World right after graduating college. He then moved into wedding videography, where he learned to adapt on his feet. That adaptability carried him into the business he's built since, which is mostly corporate and higher educational video work, with the occasional wedding video still in the mix. What stands out about Matt's work is how much of it runs on partnership. After years of editing everything himself, Matt made the leap to lean on outsourcing his post-production, and it's benefited him in more ways than just his projects. In our conversation, Matt also shares a candid look at what finally pushed him to hand off editing work, including a near miss on a couple's wedding video that he promised by Christmas Eve. He recounts the exact moment he saw a V1 of a project come back, and he knew he was never going back to editing alone. I gained a lot from our time together, and I hope you will too. Let's get into it. Matt, I want to thank you so much for hopping on with me today. It's funny because I feel like we chat a lot, and so now we're just like recording one of our chats. And so one of the thoughts I had for this call would be like, let's just like kind of take a trip down memory lane of the Dave and Matt of yesteryear. I will say, I think it was like 2015
earlier
or so, or 14.
I think it was 14 or 13.
Yeah. So in 2026 today, at the time of this recording, that is over 10 years, maybe 12 at this point, that we have known each other and somewhere in there started working together. So I guess let's kind of get into that. But firstly, like just as if I didn't know who you are, like catch me up on who you are, what you're doing today, and kind of what you're focusing on in your business.
Yeah, so I'm the owner of LMV Productions, which is a small video production company focusing on nowadays mostly a lot of corporate events is really our bread and butter, but we also do some commercial work, some website video work as well, the occasional wedding if we're interested in it, and that sort of stuff. And I do a lot of work with higher education as well. So we've pivoted a lot from doing 30 plus weddings a year to now doing more corporate Monday through Friday type stuff. So I have my weekends back.
That's got to be nice, especially coming out of weddings.
Oh yeah, 100%. That was when you're doing 30 a year, it can get pretty exhausting. You know what I mean? So
did you get that high?
It was like 20
in
the peak. Yeah, man. Cause we were doing like our biggest platinum package back then was like $1,200 or whatever. It was more high volume than anything else. So that was when we could do like 25, 30, or we'd occasionally have the Friday wedding, the Saturday wedding, the Sunday wedding. There was one time where I had 3 in a row, and then many times where I have 2 in a row. You know what I mean? So yeah, the good old days.
Man. And okay, and you've been at it how long now?
So I've been at it now for 16 years. I graduated college in 2009, did a brief thing after that, and then I really kind of got into it in 2010. So
okay. And you started in weddings, or that's like,
yeah. So
where did that come in?
What ended up happening was after college, I ended up working. I was a production assistant on the show. I don't know if you remember MTV's The Real World. So I was MTV's The Real World. I was down in Washington, D.C. for that season, which was a blast. And then while I was there, a videographer friend of mine who ran as like a hobby, a wedding video production company with his dad, he was from Maine, which is where I'm from, asked if I'd have any interest in helping him out. So I ended up helping him out a little bit when I got back home. One thing led to another. Jamie and I ended up being business partners together for a few years. And then I ended up taking over the business and moving it down to where I live now in Massachusetts in 2014 or so.
Man, okay. Yes, I did know bits and pieces of that history, but that's cool to hear. I didn't know that you met on MTV.
That was wild, reality television. And I just realized it wasn't quite for me. And then really just got into the wedding world and got thrown in and doing weddings. And weddings was primarily, 85% of what I filmed. And the thing is though, like weddings, where say what you want about 'em, but they throw you into the fire and you have to learn how to think on your feet, how to be adaptable, how to read people, how to talk to people. So it was an awesome like crash course for years on doing, because if you can do that, imagine what you can do when you could actually control the situations. Can you do your vows one more time? Can you just say I
Can you
like
walk her down the aisle one more time?
just do that. Just run it back. You can't do that with that. So it was
Yeah.
great to prepare for situations.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, and obviously, like we were alongside doing the editing on a lot of those weddings and with other videographers in that space. And I think even for editing, it's a really good platform to learn because just as much as you can't, ask them to do certain things, that goes down the line to post, right? And so it's like, you just have to make the best with what you have in the editing space. There's no story that's already planned out for you. There's no multiple takes. Like sometimes it's only one camera and you have to get creative with like cutaways or punching in and just like, I don't know, all the like creative problem solving that's involved on the post side. I think weddings are, a great training ground for that. And we had tried at one point, we were like, yeah, we could probably like spin up our own wedding video company. I don't know if you remember this. And we'd started shooting, we shot a handful of weddings. We're like, how hard can it be? Like, we already know the editing side. And it was like, oh, like really hard. Especially because like as editors, man, like we're more introverted. So you can't really sit back and let things happen to a degree with shooting because you're like, the lighting, it's mixed lighting. Like I gotta shut off the lights or it's gonna look terrible in post, or like we gotta kill the music because it's gonna like mess up the feed and all this stuff. So like you can't just be a wallflower. And I think that that's where like the editors in us were just like, oh yeah, no, we'll leave this to the pros and the extroverts.
Did you actually end up filming a wedding or just like your team? Did you get out
I
there?
I shot a couple. Yeah,
That's awesome.
you didn't know that? Yeah.
No, I did not like that. I love to. I'm sure you were, because thing is you're not. I don't feel like you are introverted. You're so good with people and talking with people and out there. I feel like you would be really good at that and making people feel comfortable. Because that's the number one thing on these wedding days. Like you and the photographer are like the person that is with them the entire day. So if you're somebody that like creeps out or makes them feel uncomfortable, you really can kill them. And I've seen it. I've seen it many times. You can really kill the vibe on the day. So I feel like you'd be good at that. So
Maybe. I mean, I was more of like a stress case of just like, do we have everything plugged in? Like, I'm a big like checker too. So I'd be like, okay, let me go just check the audio one more time. And I was like, you gotta like trust fall at a certain point with the weddings and just be like, I know I did it.
but that's the thing, you can't mess it up. So that's what kind of makes, when I used to send my wedding stuff to you, it'd be like audio file one, audio folder 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You'd have 5 different sources of audio just as like backup. You know what I mean? But yeah, I remember that well, and it is fun. I do have like one coming up this year. I like to do like one or second shoot one a year because they are fun.
Yeah, it's a whole different world. But I mean, aside from that, I mean, to just speaking about like our working relationship, and then as far as like where we've been high level, and then I want to kind of go back right to the very beginning. But we have worked on agency projects together. We've done e-learning sort of stuff together with like the filtration stuff that we're doing. We've done like fully motion graphic based videos
A
together.
lot of nonprofits,
Nonprofit. Yeah, that's a good point.
like heartstringy, like pulling, like pulling like
Yeah,
heartstring pieces.
bringing in like news clips and different types of media and everything. Yeah. So we've handled a lot of that, but I'm just thinking it didn't start there though. So now we're gonna roll the tape back. What
Mhm.
was what do you remember about our first engagement together? Like, what was the nature of that, and what did we do?
Years ago, there was this amazing wedding conference called In Focus. And I remember I was just a young videographer, and our mutual friend, Meg Simone, who was an amazingly talented wedding videographer, she was telling me about In Focus, and I couldn't afford to go. And because I was very broke, early 20s, and she ended up fronting me and giving me the Meg's scholarship or whatever that she made up and paid for my In Focus conference ticket. I don't remember where the heck that was. It was before San Antonio. It was New Orleans. I think it was New Orleans.
I
Or so. You were there at New Orleans.
No, I went to Charleston for the first time.
Charleston. So that was your first one that you went to.
Yep. The second was
So
San Antonio, and then it
second
was
was
over.
so it was Charleston was the second one, then San Antonio. And I
Yeah,
remember
yeah, yeah.
specifically in Charleston, you guys did like a presentation and you guys were like the cool kids. You know what I mean? I remember you were like those guys know what they're talking about. You gave a presentation about post production, and I was editing everything, and I would like, that's awesome. Those guys know what they're doing. I will never be able to afford them. It's just good that I get to know them and get to watch them up there, and just I think became friendly. But in Charleston, we didn't really talk that much. I just remember seeing you guys, and you guys were again. I will call you guys the cool kids, or so. It wasn't until San Antonio where I think you guys
Yeah,
presented again, where we
yeah.
actually started a little bit more of a relationship, and then not long after, I think that's when I bit the bullet to start engaging with you. But again, you guys were unattainable to me at first because I just thought that it was just, how am I going to be able to afford this? This is crazy.
You like introduced our some of our panels because in San Antonio, yeah, the second year we like led the post production day. Like we had breakouts on color and audio and editing and like how to set up your editor for success, like all this sort of presentations. And I remember like you introed us, and for some reason it had already felt like we had gone way back. Even back then, it was like I saw this guy like a year ago amidst a bunch of new faces, and yet like I think there was just this magnetism that just like drew us together on like a personal level. Because that's one thing I do want to talk about in this too is like I hopefully I'm speaking mutually is like I feel like we've become like really good friends over the last 10 or so years, and I don't think that's very common, in a like business to business sort of relationship.
You're 1,000% right. And from my perspective, see, I'm a one man band, so I'm just myself. So day in and day out, I'm alone. I have other shooters that I work with on a regular basis, but as far as my editing team goes and my coworkers, you guys are it. So I email, you pretty much daily, Alex, on your team daily. I'm in constant correspondence. So yeah, I mean, it's been over 10 plus years. We went through, COVID together. You traveled out here east and went to a nice little seminar together. With Ember. We've known each other for years. So yeah, it's definitely developed into a friendship and like my number one confidant when it comes to like work stuff.
Likewise, and I appreciate like the sounding board. Like there have been definite low points in my career fairly recently within the last 2 years where I remember just being like, can I call you? And then it was just this like, lay down on the couch, Dave, and tell me what's going on. Like, I was like, I just don't know if I don't even know if we're going to exist in a year or 6 months. Like I have no, and then I don't know, you counseled me through that. And I think just like having that level of transparency and trust to just be like, yo, I'm struggling and I don't know like what to do. And I mean, that has been invaluable, and just that connection is huge. So I appreciate that. But it did not start there. So before you sent us anything, what was going through your head about outsourcing editing work?
So I am an average editor. I'm very capable. I've obviously been doing this for a long time. I know how to do it. We joke I do use this software, Sony Vegas Pro, which me and I think three other people, maybe in North America, use. It's what my old business partner taught me on, and it's what I've used, and I just never want. It's good enough. or not. You know what I mean? It works. It gets the job done. But my biggest thing is when we were starting to do with like weddings and the formats were just changing. DSLR was just coming out, but some cameras we had were still like the mini cassette tape cameras. And I just remember filming it. I could and the look wasn't it wasn't I couldn't get the look to look consistent in my wedding films when we were doing that. So that when I was like, okay, I'm gonna inquire with Dave, with Archaius, and figure out if they can just do color correcting because I still want to put the wedding together. I know what I'm doing. I'm the best at being able to tell this story. I just want them to color. So how am I going to do this so they can make it look like my work is really elevated because I felt like I was lacking big time in that department. So that's how it first started.
I mean, I remember you telling me it wasn't necessarily an easy decision to make, right?
Yes, you guys I think colored my stuff for about a year or so before, and it was a great relationship, great workflow, and definitely helps. And was affordable for me to do it. But I'll never forget. It was I'm trying to think of when In Focus was. You remember what time of year those were? I don't remember.
I want to say fall.
I think it was fall too. Good. I'm glad you're saying that. So let's just go with fall then for that because I remember very, very, very vividly. It was December 23rd. Okay. And I was editing a wedding. And at that point, it was a summer where I think we had like 22 weddings. My backlog was just like getting there. And I was editing the weddings by myself and looking at trying to make them all unique. And you know how much footage goes into it. I was falling behind on my editing and I'm like, I have Christmas Eve tomorrow. I promised this couple I'd get this wedding film to them. Am I going to hit this deadline? I'm so stressed. How am I ever going to dig myself out of this hole? And that was when I'm like, all right, I have a relationship with them. They've been amazing. Archaius has been amazing. Let me have the conversation about what if I want to move to the next level? What does that look like financially and that sort of stuff? And that was when I reached out and talked to your team. I don't think it was you directly at that point. It was your team and just started to have that conversation, but it was scary because it is a financial, it costs money. It's scary for two reasons. One, the financial aspect. You're now getting a decent cut out of every wedding I have. So it's a decent amount of money that I'm paying. And second, it's like, and the other thing is like, well, they can't story tell as good as I can. They can't match my style. It's going to take me forever to coach them and teach them. And how much hours is that? And is that going to be worth it for me in the end? Spending these hours of coaching them just to do what I can do, and I'm going to lose money because of it. That's how I was looking at it at first, and then I obviously as it went. But that's kind of what was going through my brain at the beginning.
I tend to think of it's like it's got all three risks inherent. Like it could be a lot of money, it could be not the quality that you're looking for, but it could also eat up your time. Where like, okay, I sent this out. And then I live my life and I'm like, oh, good. They're working on it back in the shop or whatever. Right. And then I get it and I'm like, oh, it's terrible. I lost all this time where I could have been doing it right. And like, so I imagine all those fears are going through your head. Like, when you're about to rip the Band-Aid off and be like, all right, let's, take a chance and do this.
You said it perfectly. Exactly. I remember talking to my wife about it. She's like, how much is this going to cost? Like versus like how much the wedding is. And you're, multiplying it by how many? You know what I mean? How many weddings a year? Like, how much are we losing from this? You know what I mean? So, like, it was a huge risk for all the things you laid out. But I remember specifically getting the V1 of the first wedding I did with you guys, and immediately being put at ease. Like, seriously, like immediately being like, it wasn't perfect, but I remember like, oh my God, this is like so close, if not better than what I can do. I didn't spend any time editing this besides giving you some notes and that sort of thing. This is going to work out. And I think that was when I immediately was like, there's no going back. How do I sign up for all of my weddings?
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I was holding my breath and you're like, I remember I got the V1 back and I'm like, you're like, oh, it was good. I was like, okay.
It blew my mind. I was like, this is incredible. and I can't believe I didn't spend any time doing this. They are better editors than me. They're faster than me. They're great storytellers with the music, hitting the emotions. But most importantly, it fit my style. What I was afraid of was I was going to give you this stuff because I would get these weddings because of just the style. They hire you based off examples that you send. So I'm like, what's going to happen if I'm getting something back that's like looks like nothing that I typically do? But you were able to match what I do better than I did.
So this question may go nowhere, but what do you remember about like the steps or process that we went through before we started editing?
I remember having to fill out a pretty extensive survey, like a long questionnaire that you guys put together about style, music, all that sort of stuff before I even got the first wedding. Then when I sent you guys the first wedding, I remember another pretty extensive survey about kind of like notes about prep, groom prep, interviews, sound bites from the ceremony, what's the story from the couple, all that sort of stuff. So I remember you guys being pretty well organized from that, which I liked, and it took time for me to fill out. So if you guys didn't do a great job, it would have been annoying. But I was like, oh, this is just the amount of work that I have to put in as opposed to actually editing. It's worth it.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Do you remember doing a call
I remember doing a call.
at
Yep,
all?
yep. Yeah, I remember doing a call. It wasn't with you, but I remember doing a call with two of your people and asking them questions and then kind of explaining about the process and that sort of stuff. And it was a great call.
Yeah, I mean, so that'd probably be like workflow and billing and like
Yeah.
logistics and all that sort of stuff. So I don't remember, like you may have come in and we were like already well-oiled machine with your style before we started implementing this. But back in our like heyday of weddings, like we would do style and brand calls where we would go through, a bunch of questions around like, just tell me what feelings you want your brand to evoke, or like, what do you want the bride to be thinking, or like, what are some do's and don'ts? Like, do you remember any of that? Did we
I
do that,
remember,
or was
I
that?
remember that more like branding with corporate stuff. I don't remember
Uh huh.
that with weddings. But
Okay.
I imagine we must have had a similar conversation because our style isn't like dramatic. It isn't slow motion. It isn't music video-y. It's very much like soundbite driven, on the fly interviews and audio driven, where audio told the story in like different music choices.
Kind of looking back at like the color, that phase of our workflow when we were just doing color, like, what would have had to have gone wrong in those early color projects to have you walk away and never come back, or to never even entertain the idea of sending the full edit?
Two things, and it's easy for me to answer. If you were to do this, poor communication and missing deadlines. And those are two of your strengths. You guys are the best communicators from any vendor I've worked with, as far as keeping me in the loop with progress, saying you received my stuff, asking the right questions before diving in. And like, if you don't go down a path the wrong way and then ask questions, you want to make sure things are clear beforehand, which is incredible. And I value that very much. And then secondly, in the, let's say, 10 plus years we've worked together, you have never missed a deadline. And you have not. You've not missed one deadline. So those are two
Wow.
things that I was
Cool.
afraid of that put me at ease immediately when
Yeah.
we started to work together. Because that stuff's, I mean, quality is obviously super important, but if you can't communicate with me or are late on stuff, you could do the best things in the world, and I wouldn't want to work with you.
Just that insight is helpful, because as much of this is, I feel like, kind of like a funny like case study of our working relationship versus like a specific project, I do want to make sure that it's like applicable to like, okay, so if someone's looking for a partner in, it doesn't have to be post, right? Like it could be in any creative service, like the things to look out for, the deal breakers for you, right, were like poor communication and missed deadlines. So I think just making sure that it's like, okay, what can we do with this knowledge is helpful context.
I know a lot of videographers who are super, super talented at what they do. They're incredibly talented, but they can't communicate with their client, and they're show up late or don't look super professional. They do amazing work, but that sort of stuff, I think isn't what we do, and I don't expect it with people I work with, and that's kind of why it's such a good fit.
Okay, so now like we've kind of got relived the early days with like starting out with color, kind of the trepidation there, and like the things that we did organically to kind of I guess prove that this was like something you could bank on and you could rely on and start to book projects in with that in mind. Because at a certain point we definitely got to a rhythm where I think we did all of your weddings right in a given year, so you'd book out your year and you'd give us the dates and you're like, here's all my weddings for the year. So it like very much became a relationship that you grafted in as a part of your business, right? I mean, like, did you notice any changes aside from like, I assume your own mental well-being of like, not being like Christmas Eve, the day before Christmas Eve and grinding away. But like, did you think about your business differently, kind of having this in your corner?
Yeah, absolutely. Because then I would look at it just like put like, let's just good round numbers out there. Let's say a wedding to edit back then or whatever was $2,000 or so for me to pay you guys to do it. Well, then what I would look at it is now I have my Monday through Friday back. So what corporate project or business project can I book for more than $2,000 that week to easily pay for the editing? I don't have the headache of sitting in front of a computer, the headache of thinking creatively from like, oh my God, this is my 17th wedding of the season. How am I going to make this different? And just kind of that. So it freed up my week to go out and actually grow my business and do things that I enjoy doing, like talking with clients, filming myself and establishing like relationships and stuff like that. So that's what I couldn't do before, because when you film a wedding for 10 weekends in a row, your backlog is so you can't go out and do that stuff. So then what's going to happen? What's going to happen when your backlog's done and you haven't been putting where are your shoots going to come from then, because you haven't been putting in the work and doing other things in that kind of aspects of your business. So that's why it was so beneficial to me, and that's what I would do with my new spare time.
I think that's such a powerful like kind of testimony to like it working, like having somebody else, whether that's an in-person, like if you decide to hire someone to edit or hire a freelancer or go with us as like a B2B solution, like either way, having the post component figured out is like, from what I'm hearing, like an unlock to being able to take on more work and get more money. I was in a conversation earlier where someone was saying like, oh, I have to keep all these editing projects in house. Like I have to do them myself because like our pipeline is dry. Like we don't have any work coming in. So I have to do that. And I'm like, so when your I get the struggle and I can't say it without, but I'm like, when your pipeline's dry, is the best thing for you to do be editing? Or is the best thing that you could do be outselling and trying to fill the pipeline? Like, I mean, I understand cash flow and all that sort of things, but
You never know people's financial situations, and if you need that money, you need that money. Because I mean, you guys edit, let's say 90% of my work. I still edit a couple things, but they're like easy things. They're like mindless things. It's like things that like I can do on Sony Vegas Pro, and you know what I mean. And it looks fine. You guys are the ones when I need something to like elevate. But I see what you're saying. It's hard either way, but it's like there's no going back for me with everything that you guys have brought to the table.
totally. And then, I mean, over the years, I've noticed, like we were saying at the beginning, like e-learning, agency stuff, event recaps, nonprofits, like how did that variation happen? And like, did we play any part of that, or was that kind of extra or aside from us?
I think what ended up happening was weddings started getting a little bit more tiring, and stuff. And I got very involved with my local chamber of commerce, which was great here in the Newburyport, Massachusetts area. And then just more corporate work ended up coming up. And again, that was Monday through Friday, and stuff. And I think, that kind of happened. And then when my daughter was born 4.5 years ago or so, because my wife would second shoot with me, which is wild to think.
Oh, really? I don't know.
She was second shoot with me for the last probably couple of years. And it was fun. It was because we get to go to like different places and like stay in Airbnbs, and it was fun, even though she had no videographer experience, but she was very good at learning and making people feel comfortable. But but anyway, the long story short is with weddings, and my daughter was born, and my wife has a Monday through Friday job. I didn't want to be gone every single weekend. You know what I mean? In the summer in New England, we have a 12-week, 14-week period of like awesome, perfect weather, and I don't want to be gone, during that time. So I think then I just kind of had to pivot to higher education, corporate work, and stuff. And I think COVID kind of allowed for that to happen because there was a big boom in video during that time, during COVID. So
Yeah, that was a wild
the only
time.
good thing to come out of COVID. Not saying I'm
You're right.
glad that happened, but it was a way
Yeah.
for us to
I mean,
you know.
every circumstance, there's like it'll cause different industries to boom and bust, right? I mean, like war causes certain things to happen as much as like a pandemic will. So as much as good times will. So
You see it now with AI stuff. You know what I mean? Talk like, oh my god, how relevant is what I do going to be in 10 years? You know what I mean? Like, so you constantly got to be able to adapt and that sort of stuff. But now it's great that 95% of my work is corporate with only one wedding on the books this year.
and then I want to talk about another thing. So at some point, I felt like there had been a couple projects. It's not many, but it happens, right? On occasion where you'll come to us and like you aren't super sure what the client needs or like what their ask is. Like you forwarded me emails and you're like, what do you make out of this? And like we know the goal, maybe they need to show X and Y X video at this event and they have this type of media, like Zoom recordings to work with. But if we just put like there's no B-roll, if we just put their custom B-roll, if we just put that on the screen, it's going to be super boring to just watch someone's Zoom call. What do you feel like had to be true about our relationship in order for you to feel comfortable coming to us and saying, I have this need, but I don't have everything all filled out perfectly for you to just go and execute. We're actually coming in at like the ideation stage or like the concepting. Like, I don't know. Talk a little about that.
The value that you guys bring as well for being an outside vendor and a partner is I know that you obviously work with other clients. You do a lot of different type of work. So you're exposed to a lot of things that I'm not exposed to. So, and I know the level of work that you guys do. So me coming to you and asking you questions is like a brainstorming session, being like, hey, the client doesn't quite know what they want. I'm trying to figure out maybe because we're in an industry that we want to solve their problem. I don't want to go to them and ask them a million questions. I want to go with them and like, hey, here's some solutions that we can do. So when that happens, I go to you guys because you're the experts in this field. And maybe it's projects you haven't done with me, but what other projects have you done with other clients that you like, oh, hey, we saw this and this worked out really well. Let's try to pitch this idea or something. That's where I think the value of having you guys as a vendor partner, as opposed to me having like an onboard editor who only sees what I see. You know what I mean? You just bring outside perspective that I don't have. And that's why I think it's so valuable.
Yeah, that's interesting. So being able to kind of leverage the fact that we do other work and we see other industries or other client types. I mean, because we have like agency partners, we have in-house partners, we have production teams like yours, right? Like, so there's a lot of different ways, things that we get exposed to in that. So, okay. But I mean, and then at the root of it, right? Like we had to have this kind of natural level of comfort, I assume, built into the relationship where it's like, I don't have everything figured out. I can go to them and get some questions. So, I mean, like, I don't know. I feel like that is a pressure or like a difficulty or challenge that someone who manages video has, where they're like, before I can bring the editor in, I got to have like a one sheet with all their questions, everything figured out. So all they have to do is push the buttons and make it so. I don't know. Do you have any advice or like thoughts on?
I'm more of the opposite. Like you probably drives you guys more crazy is I'll send you an email and be super vague because I don't know all the answers. And then I just kind of wait for, I'm like, if they have questions, I know they're going to ask me. You know what I mean? So if they have questions, they're going to come back with their questions. And then that's how it's going to happen. I don't want to overcomplicate or overthink things because you guys are so good at just kind of getting what I'm looking for but you'll come back with questions. So I don't try to just like give you all the information. I give you enough information. You ask me the questions you need to get it all, and then we kind of put it all together. But the most important thing for me is speed. You know what I mean? Like, especially when it comes to pricing. So like most of the time I have your pricing dialed in. We've worked together so long that I have an idea that I can get back to a client and give them a ballpark. But like,
And we productize things, right?
yeah,
Like we've
exactly.
standardized
Yeah,
certain
I
things.
know
Yeah.
like what an event coverage is and like all that sort of
Mhm.
other things that we've done. Because what I don't want to happen is like email you guys, and this doesn't happen, but ask you a question about pricing and then wait 2 days before you get back to me because I want to get back to the client. The longer it takes for me to get back to the client, the less chance I have of booking it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, and speed is valuable. So that's the other thing that you guys, I think of when it comes to like just sending you guys an email. But what's great about that is not just you. You know what I mean? You're awesome, and I love working with you. But a credit to you, the team you've put in place, the Alexes, the Raquels, like these are incredible professionals that know what they're doing and can get back to me quickly. And I value, you know what I mean? Them, if you're tied up, they'll get back to me quickly too. So that's huge for me.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I will make sure. Well, one of them will be editing this probably.
Yeah,
But I'll
perfect.
I'll
Yeah.
make sure and pass along the praise.
Yeah.
So thinking of like the email situation, right? Like with clients. So there have been times, and this is kind of more unique for you, I feel like in our like client roster, is that sometimes you've had us directly correspond with clients, right, on your behalf. Like, how did that start? Do you remember?
But again, it comes down to speed. Like if something is ready or a version is ready and I'm at a shoot or I'm on vacation or I'm away or something like that, I don't want it to sit in my inbox, a V3 or whatever, or like a final version. I sit in my inbox, me get home, me like review it, then write up an email and send it to the client the next day. If it's ready and time is of the essence, I 100% trust you guys with me on the email, obviously, to just keep it consistent, but to respond to the client on my behalf, say, hey, hey, I'm the editor, with Matt, with Matt, we're editing this project for you. Excited to share this new version, anxious to get your feedback and that sort of thing. You guys are so professional that I have zero problem with you just reaching out to the client. And I prefer it, to be honest with you. So
I bet. Yeah.
it's the
Yeah.
best.
It feels like a nice little like concierge white glove
It
level of
is.
service, right?
And I don't know if that's something you want to do with other, you know what I mean? You've done it for me because again, some of these, they're deadlines and they need to get done. And if it's, I'm a one-man band. So if I'm at a shoot and they need to look at it now, I don't want to waste the time that a full day of them where they could have reviewed it, sent notes. There's been instances where you guys would have sent an email in the morning. The client will have gotten it. They would have reviewed it. You guys would have made the edits, send a second version all before I even get back home. You know what I mean? So that's how business is run. So like not just me, so much time would have been lost if it was me.
Yeah, it's a matter of like not being a bottleneck, right? And like putting the players or the people or the systems in place to like remove yourself as the bottleneck. I feel like that's still something I'm like very much struggling with Archaius is like I end up having to like be the one to approve certain things. And I think, I'm practicing giving more autonomy and more authority to different team members to handle different things. And so that's where like you're saying you correspond with the team a lot more than you do with me because I've entrusted them as an extension and as extension of me and a representation of Archaius to like, get that done, which like helps with expediency and whatnot. So I was curious though, like too, with that, I don't feel like have you ever had any issue or like hesitation around like the fact that we're not like white labeling or anything? Because you'll put like our direct email. Like I don't know, what are your thoughts on how that has unfolded?
In the year 2026, I just don't care, honestly, and don't think it's a big deal that like, hey guys, I have an editing service that I use. They're not LMV Productions by name. So like you're gonna get an email from it's gonna be Archaius. It's it might be confusing. Like I don't. There's no reason to make that explanation. I feel like people nowadays just get it. That get that like, okay, yeah, they have a different email and a different company name, but they work with Matt, so they must be part of their team. And I remember working with companies where like I couldn't respond without their name like attached to my email, you know? And I'm just like, no, my opinion, nobody cares. Like, what are they gonna watch the video, love the video, and then be like, wait a minute here, what's going on? I
Yeah,
love the
yeah,
video they just showed me, but the emails aren't the same. Something weird is going on. Like that's not gonna happen, you know? So
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't care.
Have you? So you've never gotten pushback on that,
Zero.
or like?
No one in the 10 plus years in the number of emails you've sent, and you guys use your frame, frame IO, and like
Mhm.
not once has anybody ever said anything like, oh, by the way, who's Archaius Creative? Nope, because you're just part of the team.
Well, that's
So
because they can't pronounce it, so
it's
it
true.
doesn't.
You're
I
like,
mean,
who's
that's probably why.
Archaius?
Armchairs. Yeah,
Exactly. So they just give
yeah,
up. So that's a good strategy.
yeah.
You make your name so tough to say that people don't care.
Yeah, okay. Just curious because I feel like I don't know. I'm in my little echo chamber like bubble where like I have my own mixed feelings about this, and it's like being an outsourced service, right? I'm like our our clients are often not the end client. That is changing a little bit where we are have like direct relationships, but when it's like an agency that then loops us in, I always just wonder the optics and if anyone cares. But I think to your point, like I haven't seen pushback.
Do you do it for other people too, if you don't mind me asking? Like other companies?
I've done it. I have one currently. But aside from that, no. Like, I mean, all of our long-standing relationships, which we have some not quite as long as I think you might not oldest, but like longest, because you're only a year older than me, but you're like the longest running client. But we have some that are decently close, and we'll get looped into stuff. And yeah, no, no real thought otherwise.
Well, how do you like? Is it okay? Like, not that I'm like, is it cool that you guys like that you guys? Because I don't then want you to get like, okay, guys, I'm hands off now. Like you're taking over communication. It's more so just like a band-aid's not the right word, but like a quick fix to keep communication conversation going. But then if like a issue arises or something like that, I'm then back to point. You know what I mean? With wanting you guys feeling like you have to manage the client. You know what I mean? And I don't think that's ever really happened. It's more so just to move things along.
I mean, I honestly see it as a value add where it's like, hey, and I don't know, as if this episode wasn't like being too salesy on us anyways, but like a big differentiator for us is that we are all American.
It's huge.
Yeah, I don't think I have yet to find, maybe we'll get someone telling us, but like I've yet to find another completely domestic company in our like narrow band of the industry being like web, corporate, commercial, digital stuff. It's all offshore. And I think that, the ability to show up on a call like this with a team, which we've done hundreds
You've
of
done that
times,
with me
or
before. Yeah.
send emails, on your behalf. Like that's not something I envision sending to an offshore company to do. And that would
Yeah.
be like one of the differences in the relationship, I would imagine.
100%. Yeah, you spot on. You know what I mean? And again, not that we want to ever take advantage of you guys, but like there have been times where I'm like, dude, can you just be on the call with me? Like they're what they're asking, I feel like I could have a hard time articulating to you. And like I'm just gonna be the middleman. And you know what I mean? Can you hop on this 30-minute call with me with the client? And again, I'm like super comfortable because I know you're gonna show up on time. I know you're gonna look professional. I know you're gonna contribute to the conversation. And it makes me look better in that sense. And you guys going above and beyond to do that.
Yeah, and I mean to your point, like I do enjoy those moments because I think like being able to ask like pointed questions about like, okay, but how is this good, especially if it's like hasn't been shot yet, right? And we're like, let me raise the flag about like how this is going to impact post rather than like, hey, the project's already done and this and this and this went wrong. So, you just had to like, and the budget's already set. It's like if we can have a voice earlier in the conversation, like, yeah, super down. And I think the only like maybe not really a hesitation, but like weird thing that could come up that hasn't is if like the end client contacted us directly and like kind of went past either the agency or the videographer or whatever. But like, if that happened, I'd be like, hey, Matt, so and so reached out to me.
100%.
Either,
And that's not unique to, I mean, that is like not unique to like that. That's like with any just like being a professional. You know what I mean? If I second shoot a wedding, you know what I mean? And someone comes up to me and like, hey man, I really love your style and that sort of thing. And I had your card. I'm like, I can't be like, hey, yeah, of course, dude, here's my card. No, you're on behalf of this company, this person. And you say the thing, you can't, that's you say that because you're a professional and like polite. Some people would be like, not think twice about that. So I appreciate you saying that.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it hasn't been an issue, but that's something I could imagine.
You say what you say, and then it comes back, and then whatever, you know.
Okay, so since we've been working together for over 10 years, how would you describe how Archaius was to you in the beginning, when we were first starting out, maybe after kind of like the being on a pedestal sort of like luster wore off and we were actually working together, versus to like how you would describe how we show up today, or like the nature of our relationship?
The one thing that's really interesting to me is you've had other team members on your team that have come and gone. And I remember there's been times where you've lost, or people have just, changed careers or changed professions or that sort of stuff. Now someone who I would work very closely with, and I'm like, they just lost that person. That's a huge blow. Like that's like how am I gonna, I talk with this person all the time. And then whoever it is, the next person steps up and it doesn't miss a beat. So like that's something that's, I don't know if that quite answers your question, but I think about the early days of like people that I've worked with Archaius Creative, and them being like out of this world incredible. And then when they left or they're not with you guys anymore, I'm like, damn, that one's gonna suck. And then whoever comes in next to take is just as good and just as organized and just as communicative. And that is like a testament to the system that you guys have. So like things haven't changed that much. And it's not even because we've already established, yeah, like we're friends and we've known each other for a long time. But truthfully now, how much do you and I talk about projects? On both
Yeah,
sides,
not ever. Yeah, not hardly.
they're so well trained, or you just know how to hire, that they're just awesome. So a testament to that is, to answer your question, what has changed is, as far as the people that I work with, not much. Even though the people had changed, the quality has stayed 100% the same, and why I've been so happy with you guys.
That's great. Yeah. I know. I appreciate that, because I remember I was very conscientious. Like, I think my parents, when I formed the company, right? I was trying to think of a name, and I won't go down the choice I made, but like my parents were like, just call it David Aguilar Editing. Like, it's easier to just keep your name in there and just, make it your name. And I'm like so glad I ignored them or like went a different way, because it was tough for me emotionally at the beginning when starting, because I started as a freelancer and everyone's like, send Dave your edits. Dave's great at this. Like, Dave will do your what. And it was like, Dave, 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 Dave. And so now I had this pressure to like do everything myself. And I remember like Alex was my first hire, and he's still with me today. And I remember when I was bringing him on, I messaged all my clients at the time. I was like, hey, I'm getting overwhelmed and getting burnt out. Like, how would it make you feel if I started a team instead? And I was like so nervous to hit send on all of those. Like, I read them like 1,000 times before I actually hit send, because I pictured people just being like, if you're not doing it, like, I don't have any trust, whatever. And it was like across the board, everyone's like so encouraging and said like, if anyone can do it, like you can. And I was just like, I'm not crying. And so, fast forward, we've been at this like 12, 13 years now as a company. And it's like, it's great to hear that has maintained true, where it's like, as much as I meet people at conferences or like, different events or networking or whatever, it's like, I get worried that I sell them on like me and how awesome I am. Like, I don't know, just the relationship that we form, and then to be like, and hand you off to somebody else. And I have inner conflict over that, but it's by and large, people understand that's how business works. And it's, from your perspective, it's great to hear like, and that has gone well. It wasn't like a downgrade.
Yeah, I mean, first, I think the moral of the story is don't listen to your parents. Don't know what you're talking about. I think that's the number one moral of the story. The second
I've let that roll my life.
the second thing to get out of this, I mean, yeah, like obviously I could say like, oh, you guys have stayed up with all the current like editing trends and like you're doing all the right like, After Effects and like you're on top of like all the plugins and all. I mean, obviously you can say that and you guys are the technical thing, but the thing that keeps me coming back to Archaius is the people. You know what I mean? And you guys do great quality, obviously, but you got a team in place that I, would work with, which is why I continue to work with that. So yeah.
I think, and that's kind of like the ethos of this show is like, I didn't want, when I was thinking like, oh, we have something that's valuable. I don't know what it is yet, but there's something here that I think we can give to the industry for free that they don't have to work with us for, right? And I struggled with it for maybe like 6 months to a year of just like, I know I don't want it to be a tips and tricks on editing show. I mean, it would be really fun, I think, still to like do like a behind the scenes of the edit and talk through like decisions, whatever. But I was like, that's not it. Like that's already done. Like there's so much of that. And I finally landed on, I think it's all the stuff outside of doing the technical work. Like it's the technical work and being able to execute on editing is like table stakes. Like that's just like, you have to do that if you want to work or get projects, right? But it's like, how do you show up in the relationship? Like you send like communication, we've said that so many times, right? Like it's just this relational thing. And I think, that's great to hear that is like a standout part of working with us. Cause I felt like that is where we could bring value to, everyone in the industry.
Absolutely. You say spot on 100%.
Just to wrap up here, like, what do you think working with a reliable post partner? I mean, I'm calling us reliable, but like working with a post partner in the way that you have for this long, like, what do you feel like that has allowed you to do?
It frees me up to just do things that I'm better at, but you guys, it's so easy with you guys. Like I just sent Alex an email and it was probably like 3 sentences, it wasn't long like at all. And I'm like, I know he's going to get it. I know exactly he's going to know what I'm talking about. I referenced a previous project in the video, in the email that you guys did. So like that sort of like history, it's like, oh yeah, it's just like, X project we did 2 years ago. And you're like, oh, okay, that I know what that was. I know what that scope was like. You know what I mean? So like having that history together and being able to call out like past projects that we've done together is very valuable because, instead of like explaining it, it's like, it's just like this project. We did it before, but we want to update it a little bit. What would that look like? And he would be able to get the reference points. That's why it's not like working with, out a country person or a new person every time where I have to just constantly explain and tell them like what this sort of thing was. And the other thing is like our workflow is there. Like, hey, I'm going to upload my footage to Dropbox or Google Drive. I will share it to you. I will put it in folders. Here is the brand guidelines. And I just know exactly what you need for every project. So you're not chasing me afterwards for like, we know this. But that's been kind of instilled in us and things have changed obviously over the years, but that's been instilled over 10 years.
The shared history to kind of like reference projects back and then the workflow. Yeah. Do you feel like those have contributed to like a capacity increase or like a speed increase or like if you had to tie it to like a metric?
I mean, the biggest thing is efficiency for me and where I'm big in like AI and I use cloud for everything. And like, I love that stuff is just because I'm a one-man band and, my wife works full time. I like to drop off my daughter at school. I like to pick her up at school. I want to be as efficient as possible throughout my day. So yeah, I mean, not having to like hold your hand and explain things to you with every single project that comes in is awesome and saves me a boatload of time so I can do other things.
Cool. All right. One final question to wrap up. So someone that's kind of sitting in your shoes back in 2014, 2014,
yeah.
Someone that's in your shoes knows that there is a gap in editing, capabilities. And this person could be an in-house marketer at, an enterprise or an organization that's like, doesn't have the staff or the team internally. maybe has tried, freelancer once or twice from a recommendation, but like really needs to find something that's helpful. Aside from sending them the link to our website, like what advice would you give to like, what are the qualities to look for in someone or a solution for post?
The number one thing that I learned, and I would give advice to someone, is that I got to a point where I realized I couldn't do it alone and I needed to have help from somebody. In that instance, that's when I called you guys. So maybe it's they call you, maybe it's they call a different vendor or a different need that they have, but this is a big part of your business. And getting on the phone or on a call like this and kind of getting a vibe check, making sure things click, making sure you guys are kind of on the same page is really important, because like I guarantee you may feel like alone, but there are people out there who can help you get out of that moment and free up things that you don't even realize unless that conversation takes place. So that's the number one thing I recommend that you do.
Yeah, no, that's super solid. I think just like getting, like you said, a vibe check and just seeing like, is this someone that I want to work with? Like, does it feel like, aside from technical capabilities, like we're just saying, like, what's the experience going to be? Are they organized? Do they show up on time? Do they seem like they know their stuff? Like, are they going to be communicative? Like, evaluating all that ahead of like going all in, it makes sense. But yeah, man, thank you. I appreciate you being on. It's funny to, like I said, just to record like our hangout session, like a guided hangout session. But I
record all of our conversations.
Oh,
anyway.
Great.
So this is just
is that
normal.
What that camera in the back is doing?
That's normal for me. I just add this to our library. But no, it's good. It's good to be able to connect and chat about stuff about this too, because we do go way back, so it's good to talk about it all.
Yeah. It's fun to pause and reflect on how much time has gone by and the decade that we've experienced together. So if people want to check out your work or follow you or just get in contact, maybe they need a production done in Newburyport or in Boston area.
Yeah, but greater Boston area. I mean, our website, lmv-productions.com, or Instagram's probably the most social media active place I am, and it's just at Matt Forcier. It's my personal and business way to get in touch with me. But that's probably the best ways to get a hold of me.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, I will make sure that gets included in the show notes. But man, I just appreciate you so much. Aside from being on this episode, just our relationship in general, both professional and personal. So thank you again for being who you are and for joining me today. Appreciate it.
Feelings mutual, buddy. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining my hangout session with Matt. My biggest takeaway was his point about communication mattering more than talent. As Matt put it, when it comes to prospective partners for his business, you could be doing the best work in the world, but if you can't communicate, he isn't willing to work with you. And I know that might sound blunt, but Matt's experience highlights a critical point in our industry. A lot of creatives are talented, but not great communicators. That gap is what actually breaks partnerships, not a lack of skill. Matt reminds us that being kept in the loop is what allows work to be handed off with confidence. It's so important to remember that while style and skill get you in the door, it's trust, transparency, and efficiency that keep a partnership going for years. If you want to see the kind of work that Matt and his team at LMV Productions put out, you can check out their site in the show notes. I've also linked his Instagram. Don't forget to hit subscribe. This has been Let's Fix Post.